feel like a star, but only strictly where I'm famous. I'm in this for the longest haul, like we'll see where it takes us. I'm throwing back these double shots like whiskey here is weightless. Cause this career I chose was even riskier than Vegas, yo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Colby Rebel Show. I'm your host, Colby Rebel, and today we have a very, very special guest. I'm super excited for this guest. She is a mystic, a teacher of oneness consciousness, a CEO, i.e. Babe Boss, international best-selling author. Rachel Fiori has been transforming people's lives on a soul level for over 26 years. So that's a long time. She doesn't even look 26, everybody. She works as a coach and spiritual guide for high-profile people and is really working with everyone to where they want to be. So she is a revolutionary in her own right, cutting edge, no BS, so you know why she's a guest on my podcast today, and really helps people to create a blueprint for enlightened societies and leadership so we all can flourish together. So what more could you ask of? So put your hands together and let's really say hello to Rachel Fiori. How are you, Rachel?
I am fabulous. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's nice to have you. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. I'm just so interested in your story. I kind of just want to start with, how did you get started? Like, what was that journey? You know, we all have that nudge from spirit that says, hey, it's time, or you're meant to do something different. What was that moment for you? Do you remember? Was it a specific moment or many occurrences? Please share with us.
Many occurrences along the way. But one of the stories that I do share is there was a moment that when I was a young child, you know, looking up and observing adults, just thinking, why can't you all get this right? Like, this is not that hard. What's wrong with all of you? And I grew up in a very abusive childhood with a stepdad that was just mentally ill and abusive and terrible. And there was a moment when, you know, had been learning these programs of people pleasing. Oh, if I can only be better, if I can only be better at this and only be better at that, then the abuse won't happen. And then, you know, I'll be accepted and loved. And I was falling into those patterns as a child. And there was a moment when I worked really hard to get a B on my report card, back up to an A to get straight A's. And because, of course, the abuse and the grounding and, you know, how you're treated because I got a B, and how stupid I am because I got a B. And when I worked really hard and I got that B up to an A, I had a moment of handing him my report card when he got home from work and just waiting, looking at his face, waiting for that approval, right?
Right.
And instead of that, I saw the face change and I knew what was coming because I know that I had lived it for years already. I knew what was coming. And the screaming and the cursing of how stupid I am. This doesn't even count as an A. It's too low of an A to be an A. And here it comes. When he unleashed his wrath, I had an out-of-body experience. And it was like I just kind of left my body and I was a little bit behind and hovering above us watching this. Wow. And then I just heard, why do you take his abuse so seriously? Like, I had that massive epiphany. Oh my God, this has nothing to do with me.
Right. Okay.
This has nothing to do with me. Like, all of this abuse, like whatever he does to me, quote unquote, is not about me at all. And it was a big moment at 13 years old where after that, I was like, well, F you, because however hard I work, what I earn in my sports for, you know, grades or school or whatever it is in my life, it is for me. I don't people please. It isn't about you. I don't need your validation. I need to live my best life and be the best human I can be. And that's it. And if I'm doing that, I don't give a shit what you think. And I got that at 13 years old.
That's really great. I mean, it's very powerful to have that kind of knowledge to take into adulthood as well. So I know we have the Masters of Self University, and it's really, it kind of gave me maybe the impression of these downloads that you received in order to kind of put that all together. What are the courses, the messages, the lessons? How did that come to you? Because I'm super curious. And tell us about, what the Masters of Self University is and what that does for those who are in need.
Yeah. Thank you. So I, very quickly, I'll say that when I worked in healthcare, I got my master's degree, became a clinically licensed therapist. I was working as an occupational therapist, and I specialized in mental, emotional, and behavioral health. And when I was working in that field and working in the hospital systems, I learned very quickly what goes on behind the scenes. And I learned that we live in a sick care system. Nobody wants you to heal, actually, at all for real. They want to keep you trapped there. And they told me to stop healing people because sick people make us money. And
wow.
Yeah. And I wish I could say that I was only told that by one person. No, I was told that over and over again in those systems. So with my, awakening and evolving and becoming a more highly conscious being, I also had that background that I could learn from and grow from, the contrast of what it really means to heal people or not to heal people. And I was like, well, I'm going to start my own corporation, my own organization, and I'm going to teach people that they don't have to be an enslaved being. They don't have to be trapped in illness forever. They can actually learn how to heal themselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. And let's start learning how to become truly empowered as people. And that started my mission. I mean, I had a calling to do it. And it's, I'm a revolutionary. Like, I will stop at nothing but to teach people exactly what they need to learn about themselves, the science of energetics, and all the things they need to learn and become in order to not be trapped in the systems that are put in place that are there to keep us low, sick, enslaved, unhealed, etc. We can break free from all of that, but you can't break free from it just because you want to.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And it's also, it's interesting because we have that suppression from society, businesses, corporations, but even like your personal experience through our upbringing as well. Right.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of karmic ties, I think, that come into play when we are put in a place to kind of work on things. Tell me a little bit about just one way of how you work with someone to help them release a trauma, let's say.
Yeah. So I specifically work with the 20 universal ways of oneness. And that's from, the book that I wrote, that I channeled. I work with those enlightened frequencies. They are the highest level of enlightenment that we can actually achieve now in this new era. And I work with those frequencies in guiding people on how to heal and what to become. And I take people in my coaching programs at Masters of Self University. All of our coaching programs guide a person through the programming that is in there. Okay, what are your mental programs, your emotional programs, your behavioral programs, your inner child wounds? And we just connect the dots and we teach a person how, look, this was triggering you. Okay, now let's connect the dots. And they just go deeper, deeper, deeper to program. Oh my God, that's why I reacted that way. That's how I show up. But if you only have the awareness of it, you can't heal it. That's not healing yet. Now, you can't heal it if you don't have the awareness. But the very special thing that we teach is literally connecting to your soul's essence. That is an energetic process that we teach people. You connect to your soul's essence and you learn, okay, you're triggered. So what mental programs are you running? We start very easy, step by step. Now, energetically alchemize those programs so that they don't exist in you anymore. And we teach people how to do that. They do that part and they're like, holy crap. I just had an email from somebody literally today that said, it felt like I took ecstasy when you moved me through that healing last night. And outside of, me taking that drug before, I've never felt that before in my life. They're like, this is the most incredible work I've ever experienced. And everybody has that inside of them. They're just not taught how to access it. We're taught things like plant medicine and meditation and all the tools, and there's nothing wrong with those tools. that's not this work.
Yeah.
That's not the essence that you are. And it's learning how to connect to that essence. So no matter what trauma, what pain, what unhealed thing is still trapped in there, you go inside of the pain, connect to your essence, and it alchemizes it and dissolves it away. And every person has that power.
That's really beautiful. How long does it take for someone to kind of go through the entire process?
Good question. So with the way that I set the program up, it is a minimum of 3 months.
Okay.
There's a lot of learning to do, right? Because a lot of people have learned very bad habits and they've learned to use coping mechanisms or things to avoid their pain or just focus on positivity, which is absolute bullshit. Because when you have unhealed trauma in there, that stuff in there is not positive. It feels terrible. That's why we try to avoid it. And if you don't ever transform that energy, it stays there forever. Energy never dies. It can be transformed into a different vibrational frequency. And no, that is not the same thing as energy healing. Like, yeah, but I do Reiki. That does not alchemize the core traumas that are trapped in there. That's why for a 3-month program, it's a minimum of 3 months. It teaches you step by step what the high level of spiritual education and energetics that you need to understand of how these energetic programs are in there and why, and how you go into them and just alchemize them. Once you learn how to do it, it's actually really simple.
I think in a way you're detoxing them from their history, from their cords, from the collection of negativity, toxins, thoughts, patterns, belief systems.
Yes.
That's got to be so,
100%.
so tough. But, ultimately someone has to be dedicated to their own transformation. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
have you ever had someone,
Yes.
I'm just curious, have you ever started with someone and they're just like, they say they want to do it, but they're actually not doing the work? What do you do then?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let me say this. There is no such thing as this work not working. That's the best news you could ever hear. There's no such thing that this doesn't work. It is 100% guaranteed. It works because you yourself are divinity and you're learning how to work with your own divine nature. So you are the miracle that you've been looking for. So because of that, yes, 100% works. However, I can't, my certified coaches that I certify in this work, they can't force you to do it for yourself. Right. So yes, I've definitely had people in the past where they just wouldn't do it. They really wanted, and that's okay. Go out and use all the coping mechanisms and go do all the other things in the world. Go do your breath work, go do all the things. And in a few years, when you're really sick and tired of still having the same traumas trapped, and you haven't gotten the education to teach you why that is and why breath work cannot heal that, right? That's the education that we provide. Then they'll come back, and there's no judgment in that. That's okay. It makes me sad because you don't have to suffer. You don't have to live with any of this crap. PTSD, anxiety, none of it. You don't have to ever live with it. But some people, because of their very programming, it's what gets them, people to, falsely connect with them or feel bad for them or do things for them. Their programs still work for them. And so that's okay. That's your choice. You're not ready to actually heal yet. And that's
fine. I mean, their programming is what they know and probably is a safe haven for them, even in a negative way, but it's probably what brings them comfort, right? What I'd like to know is how did you get the message for the book? I had a message for a book as well. So, I know what it's like. I want to hear your story of how it happened. How long did it take you to write the book? Where were you when the inspiration came, the message came?
Yeah. Good question. And I can't promise that I won't cry when I share this part. So I had a soul companion dog named Mason. And Mason, my soul companion dogs, they come to me, their souls come to me first before they're ever born, and I interact with them and they communicate with me and we create a bond soul to soul. And then physically at some point they come into my life. And Mason was my soul companion dog for over 14 years. Been through all of my, trials and tribulations and dark nights of the soul and all the things, my awakening. And throughout all of it, when it came time to say goodbye, it was the morning after he died.
Oh.
And I'm just crying still. My eyes are swollen shut. And I got that message. I was sitting on my couch and I got the looking like a drug addict because I had cried so hard the day before. And I got that message, go get your laptop. And I know that energy. And I said, what? And there it was again, go get your laptop. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm in my full grieving, And I know that divine energy. So, and I trust it. I am the way of trust. That's one of the ways of oneness. And I got my laptop and I sat on the couch and I opened it and I pulled up a blank document and I just got, do you now see what his life really meant? And I got like a movie flash of every single, there are 20 universal ways of oneness, every single way of oneness that he showed me, that I learned and evolved into without really realizing it. I was shown in a flash and I started crying again. And through my tears, I just started channeling the book. And there it came.
Wow.
The introduction, the first way of oneness, the second, just one right after the other. And I just started channeling.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful, beautiful story. Do you still talk to Mason today?
Yes. He comes in. He actually helped to pick my next soul companion dog who has come into my life since him.
I thought you said he was going to pick your husband or partner or something. I was like, oh, that's
I already have him. He was a part of Mason's life. Fortunately, yeah. But yeah, he actually guides my new soul companion dog, and he does come in and out. And he actually, I'll share this because I just think this is really precious and mystical and incredible. I've had clients who have read my book. They study the ways of oneness and they learn from me. I'm a teacher of this. And they learn from me and they will come to me in a session and say, you're not going to believe this. But I was struggling trying to activate, one of the ways of oneness. I was struggling in my pain and I was just stuck. And I was like, harmlessness and gentleness. I just can't seem to get it. And all of a sudden Mason appears and just activates the frequency inside of the person. And they experience that vibrational frequency of that universal way of oneness. And then they have this really mystical, magical healing experience. And then they come and they tell me, and they're like, and they share that with me. They're like, I now know what that feels like. I'm able to achieve that frequency. He showed up and helped me. So it's just remarkable.
So Mason is technically your first certified coach. Is that accurate?
Yeah. My spiritual teacher.
It's amazing. No, it's actually, wonderful that, Mason understood his purpose so clearly that he's able to continue it in the afterlife, which is really fantastic. Yeah. What about any goals for a new book or a next chapter? What do you think happens after we kind of have these 20 lessons, so to speak? And we do have oneness. Then what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. So there's, as I've mentioned several times, there's 20 of them. And those 20, there's at least 9, if not 12 different levels of every one of those ways of oneness. And they are the enlightened vibrational frequencies. So I can say, the way of equality is one of the ways of oneness. And we think we already know what that means. And I can tell you right now, almost nobody knows what that actually means. They have to become it. So it's a becoming. It isn't reading the book and just memorizing things and sounding good on social media and saying, oh, look, I'm this, I'm enlightened, I'm that. It's you have to become it. And becoming it is nothing less than the warrior's journey. This is spiritual warrior that I'm talking about. This is a mystical warrior. You are becoming something so powerful where you could look evil and darkness in the face and blow it a kiss. Like, you're not afraid of anything. You can move through anything when you have the power of your own divinity on your side, that you've become that powerful. That's how we change the world. So I think there's book 2, but I think I've started it. I channel it a little bit here and there when it comes to me, but that's not going to come for probably years, because people really have to learn how to embrace these ways. And again, not just, take it in as knowledge. We're over that era. That era's done. We have to actually become more powerful, divine, better human beings. And you can't do that just by reading and gaining a bunch of knowledge. You have to become what you read about. You have to integrate it. And then your vibrational frequency is completely different. That means your level of consciousness is way higher.
I love that. What's your favorite part about being of service to others?
Seeing other people completely break through their traumas and heal and elevate and have these experiences, and realizing they are so powerful, because no matter how many times you talk about it or say it, when you actually make those shifts and experience it yourself, there are no words. And that's my favorite part about what I do, is seeing other people evolve and shine and become powerful.
What's can you share maybe a story of the biggest transformation you saw in a client by chance?
Good question. Let me think about that. Gosh,
I know.
Many.
That's like someone saying, give me your favorite reading. It's like, oh, goodness.
Right? Exactly. That's a tough one. There are so many, but I think ones that I'll highlight are people who have really harmed. I have worked with people who were perpetrators. I have worked with people who have a very dark past, men who have a very dark past and have done some really terrible things. And I think a lot of those people, or those men that I've worked with in the past, people have been to prison, the whole nine. They are at a level where they really believe this is just who I am, that they're just ruined, and I'm just a shitty, I'm going to have these problems forever.
Yeah.
When you see someone like that evolve to where they could never harm anyone because it's not in them anymore. They can't harm. They only now know help and kindness and harmlessness and gentleness and compassion and selfless service. They become this. And I think the most profound observations that I've had in my work has been working with people like that, where society would say, there's no way, there's no hope for assholes like that, and, lock them away for the rest of their lives. And look, some people, that's where they should be. Sure, I'm all for it when they really deserve it. But we also do not live in an enlightened society, which means we don't have the education of all of the pieces of, the journey of somebody and how they become the worst version of themselves. They weren't born that way.
Yeah.
So I would say those are my favorite stories to share sometimes.
I love it. And then working with the consciousness, the higher self, what is the muggle life like? Or are you able to have muggle experiences? How do you kind of just let yourself walk away maybe, or step out of that space every once in a while to have a muggle experience?
Yeah, I love this question. Oh, it's amazing that to even ask this question. That is probably the most challenging aspect of my existence because of the level of psychic that I am, in all the various ways that I am psychic and I pick up on energies and read energies. My whole energetic system automatically connects to other people. So if there's 10,000 people in the room or 2, it doesn't matter. How I function is my energetic system connects to everyone and everything around me, and it starts picking out all the programs and all the traumas and all the things in that person, and it starts working on them automatically. So it's exhausting for me to be around other people on a regular basis. I have to literally have strategies, and I have to plan it out, and I have to space it out, because I can't just go to the farmer's market and then run to the store and then go do this and then go hang out at the beach I literally cannot live like that. So that's probably the most challenging part, It's the price you pay to help people the way that I help people.
Yeah, that's really great. When did you start the university? Like when did that start of like, hey, this is what we're creating, this is what we're doing, and this is how we are going to help others?
Officially, so I've been doing this type of work for about 26 years at this point, on various levels, and I finally left, I worked for several years to try to get out of Western medicine, out of healthcare, because it was just, I don't lack integrity. Integrity is one of the ways of oneness. And I started my own business. I had always been doing this on the side, but I was trying to go more full time. And there was just one moment in time where there was the guidance: create the certification program to coach, to certify coaches in this type of work, and start the university. Like, it's time to officially do it. And that was probably, gosh, for as long as I've been doing this work, I never remember. It's been going on 3 years, I would say, officially for Masters of Self University.
Yeah, that's wonderful, though. That's really great. And, especially when you're taking someone in and, by the end of that program, they are really allowing themselves to know themselves on such a deeper, more intimate level. And maybe even just love themselves.
That's it. That's one of the ways of oneness, is the way of unconditional love. And people think that they know what love is. And I'm here to tell you, not as a judgment or criticism, but you don't. Love is a state of being. It's an energetic state of being. It is not a feeling. So people think that they're in love. That's a feeling. That is an expression of something. And more often than not, it is how you feel is an expression of your attachment to that person, your neediness for that person, your fear of abandonment for that person. It isn't actually love. Yeah. Love is literally a state of being. And how you function as a powerful divine being when you are the frequency of unconditional love, just to give one simple example for people so that they understand this, is if you know that you should speak up and use your voice and set a boundary and you don't, that's not love. And that is not just a lack of self-love. That is also a lack of love for the person who needs the boundary. The boundary for that person is it's an expression of love. If I vibrate at the frequency of unconditional love, the way of unconditional love, I have no problem speaking up and setting the boundaries that I need to set with people, no matter who I am or what the scenario is, and no matter who the people are. We don't make excuses anymore. Oh, but it's my mom. Oh, but you know how my dad is. What does that have to do with anything in life? Nothing. Those are our excuses to lack love and not be powerful enough to love ourselves. So that's just one example.
So just out of curiosity, so as you wrote the book, did it kind of take you through the program, or did you take yourself through the program after you wrote the book? It's just, I'd love to know, like, did you go through the 20 steps personally, and did that happen as you wrote the book, or do you think it happened after you wrote the book?
Yeah, good question. So part of what I was doing in my life, I was living as the ways of oneness. My Mason was living as the ways of oneness, but I didn't have that structure and I didn't have the language for it. Okay. So when it channeled and that message was, do you now see what his life really meant? And it was, oh my God, it just was crystal clear, clarity of, that's what this is, everything that we've been doing and how we've been living. I now had a voice and understanding. I had language to it. And I was able to then, let's put it in a way, in a form where anybody in the world could learn how to become this as well. It's not just for me, or it wasn't just for Mason and myself. Like, now anybody can learn how to do it because of the way that it is formulated and structured for people to become this if they want to, heal and alleviate their suffering and become a more powerful human. So it was more of, I received the structure and the understanding. That's what that's the way of harmlessness and gentleness. Wow, that is what the way of loyalty really actually is. I get it. That's how we were living. Oh my God, that's what the way of purity is. Yeah. None of this religious bullshit that has brainwashed people what purity means. Like, this is what the way of purity means. that's incredible. So it was just a deeper understanding and putting a language and a structure to it so that it could be taught.
I love that. And it's interesting too, because, it's kind of, I can share that experience. I mean, I have been doing mediumship my whole life and psychic, just connecting or talking to someone. And I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily known, oh, that's what you're doing and that's what you call it. But once I did know, then everything from the past came in and it was like, oh my goodness, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Exactly.
It is interesting that once we kind of have the words or the structure, the framework, then, I think it becomes even more clear.
Exactly.
Which is great, which is really great. So in your off time, though, what do you think some of the most favorite things are to do other than the farmer's market, which you clearly love?
Right? I do not have a ton of time to do anything other than what I do here for other people and running this organization. It's a global organization. I train my current soul companion dog. His name is Benson.
Aww.
And I spend a lot of time training him and getting him ready for, he's actually having his first live event with me this Saturday. I don't know when this will air, but it's Saturday, March 16th. So that's his first live event. So he'll be up with me on stage teaching everybody during the day. And his first time, I've been preparing him. So a lot of my time is spent with him, getting him ready for that. And of course, the typical, like my husband and I work out together and go to the gym together and do stuff like that. But that's how I spend my free time.
I love it. I mean, what a great way to work with Benson and train your husband too at the same time. That works well.
It works very well. And the three of us go to the gym together. So it's perfect.
I just have a kind of a now off topic question. So we see that beautiful elephant portrait behind you. Is the elephant your spirit animal, or what it drew you to like say, hey, I want this elephant? Because it is beautiful. So I'm just kind of more curious in it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely one of my spirit animals because it represents oneness. It represents a matriarch, which, a matriarch is not what most people think. It's just a patriarch, but it's women in charge. That's ridiculous. It's not at all.
Yeah.
Elephants really represent the wisdom. That's one of the ways of oneness, the way of wisdom. And they represent oneness consciousness, where what I do as a leader is to lead everybody into elevating, everybody into oneness. What I do for me is always in selfless service to you. And that's how they work, which is why that's one of the power animals that represents how I like to live my life.
Oh, great. So when you are working with a larger group, do you find it more difficult or overwhelming versus like a one-on-one client situation?
No, not at all. It's invigorating. I actually thrive. The bigger the group, the better is my favorite thing to do. I do have more recovery time after. That's the difference. Okay. It's more exhausting after the fact. So I have to make sure after that event, I have downtime to energetically recover from whatever it is that I did during that event.
So when you're doing the events, do you feel that you're channeling the information and lessons forward?
That's all I ever do.
Okay.
That's all I ever do. Nothing that I have ever put together, all of my coaching programs, all of the educational videos and workbooks and teachings, 100%, everything has come directly from the universe to me to offer to humanity. None of it has been like regurgitated knowledge from other people. I don't do that. I can't do that. Like I don't function that way. So everything that I do, I don't have a memorized speech or I don't work that way. I can't. It's when I show up, depending on whoever is in the audience, whoever those people are, the teachings and whatever comes through, whatever level of healings and types of healings that come through and the teachings that come through are literally specific to all of the people in the audience, what they need to hear, elevate to, or become. So it's very personalized, even if it's a really large group. Like people will say to me, just like you were talking just to me, and they're a stranger. I'm like, well, I mean, I was, because that's, your guides needed you to learn what was taught through me. That's just how I work. So it's always 100% of the time it's channeling.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think that being able to work that way and being able to be of service that way, I think is so conducive to healing and healing of the masses kind of at once as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's such a precious gift. It's very exhausting after, but it's invigorating and powerful in the moment.
What advice would you give to someone who's listening to you and they're saying, "Wow, this is really great, but I'm just feeling really lost and I'm at a crossroads and I'm just not sure what to do." What would you say to that person? What advice would you give?
I would say go to mastersofselfuniversity.com and just get a free consultation so that we can see where you're stuck. In those consultations, we start to do some of our work with people. We don't coach. We're not going to coach you in a consultation, but we start to gather information on an intuitive level to say, okay, here's why you're stuck.
Yeah.
But this is why you're stuck. Here's why you're feeling. These are the programs that are running. That's the beauty of this work. So if you're willing to just find out more about yourself, then you have options and you have choices. And that right there is already a little bit of a bump into a crumb of empowerment, because you now have options and choices for yourself. And then, it's up to you. If you're not ready, that's okay. But the feeling of being lost or stuck literally are energetic programs that if you come learn and get educated on this stuff, you're like, oh my God, that's just a program running. And all I have to do is this and this to completely alleviate that program.
Yeah.
And then you're free.
Yeah.
So I cannot emphasize enough how priceless education is for all of this stuff. And we've lived in a system where this level of education, this type of education, has been completely deprived, has been completely robbed from us. Like, it's been hidden from us for a reason, because nobody would be stuck or struggling if they grew up with this education, which is why I'm here to bring this level of education back. Yeah. And it's not a matter of just being spiritual. I'm talking about actual ancient and modern education at the highest level, and we have to bring that back to our society.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's great that you are kind of taking on that endeavor. I mean, that's a pretty big endeavor to kind of shift on a global level, really kind of the patterns that as a society, as a world are happening today. So that's really great that you're kind of taking that on and working with others. Well, Rachel, I want you to just take a moment. Please tell everyone where they can find you. How can they kind of look up this consultation? Where is the book? Share all the good deets with us, please.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. So you can go to the website, mastersofselfuniversity.com. You'll have access to free consultation, everything we offer. You can get the book there. It'll send you to Amazon. And that's where the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness, you can find that on Amazon. So you can follow me on social media, Rachel_Fiori. But the best place to start is on our website, mastersofselfuniversity.com.
This fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on today and talking to us, and and just kind of sharing the idea of this oneness and what does that mean, and obviously that it's deeper than what we see on the surface. So
yes,
thank you for everything that you do, Rachel, and the healing and the helping and the education that you provide to so many. And so happy to have you, and thank you so much for being here. And gosh, everybody, go to the website. It's a free consultation. I don't know why you wouldn't. And at the very minimum, hop over to Amazon and grab the book, because I think to have it all in one kind of hot spot is a great way to kind of get a head start on everything as well. So thank you again, Rachel. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see everybody soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to The Colby Rebel Show. Be sure to follow Colby on social media at Psychic Rebel. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please head on over to iTunes to leave a review to help Colby grow the tribe. Colby is an international psychic medium, teacher, best-selling author, and speaker. She is a master teacher of the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development and is the owner of the Colby Rebel Spirit Center in Los Angeles. Visit colbyrebel.com.